You're listening to the Uptown Girls podcast. I'm your host, Martina Barley. Let's talk. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Uptown Girls podcast. I'm Martina, your host. We have a very special episode here today. One of the biggest struggles as a business owner, whether you're an insurance agent, whatever you do for a living, if you own your business, one of the biggest struggles is your team. Recruiting your team, hiring team members, keeping them happy, all that good stuff. So today, what we're going to be doing is we are going to be talking to what I like to call the needle in the haystack. Because when we're looking for good employees, that's kind of what we refer to them as, right? We're looking for the needle in the haystack, somebody that's just amazing, on point, always just at the top of their game every single day, right? And they're not easy to find. You know, we figure out different avenues to look for new employees. They almost never work. That's why it's called a needle in a haystack, because you're going to look and look and look and look and look. It takes a long time. So this is Sierra. Sierra, say hi. Sierra is one of the Uptown Girls. She's been at Uptown Marketing for over a year now.
Yeah, it was a year, July 5th.
Yep, year, July 5th. So when I started my company in 2019, I was very strict in that I didn't want to hire anybody unless they were my friend or my family. And this was great until it wasn't, right? I got away with this method of hiring for 4 years. And then I had a moment of chaos, let's call it, when due to lots of different reasons, you know, I have to take accountability for most of it because they weren't happy. So they took another opportunity, but I lost 3 employees on the same day. So because of my method, these were all my friends. These were not just random finds from the internet. These were friends of mine. So I wasn't only losing employees, it was a shift in the relationship with these 3 of my friends. And all's good now, but it put me in a position where I had to change my way of thinking as a business owner. I think a lot of times as business owners, we think we know everything. We're always right. We know it all. This is my method and it works for me. But there's always going to come a point where you have to start to open your mind up and change your way of thinking on whatever strategy we're talking about. For me, it was recruiting and hiring. So I listened to my older, wiser sister, Carla, that you guys have heard in one of the previous episodes. And she said, we have to post these jobs online. We have to. And I was like, I'm not going to take some random girl off Indeed. There's no way. We won't be able to trust her. We don't know anything about her, blah, 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 blah. And I was having an absolute emotional meltdown. But she was like, just let me post it. I'll interview everybody. If I find somebody really good, I'll let you know. So Carla says that when she saw your resume, she got a special feeling. She didn't even meet you, see a picture of you, talk to you, nothing. She just, something about the name Sierra.
It just does something for you.
It just does something for you. Carla loved it. So Carla interviewed you and she told me afterwards, you're going to love her so much. She's so great, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, I'll believe it when I see it, Carla. So you and I went to a restaurant, a bar, really. I mean, we sat at the bar.
You invited me to happy hour.
Yeah, I invited you. Well, I'm like, if I'm going to get to know this girl, let's get to know her, right? Carla did the boring part. I'm going to do the fun interview. So we had some French fries and some wine, and I probably like confirmed the job halfway through because that's just how I am.
No, you did it like in the first 10 minutes of being there. I had my interview with Carla. You called me that same day at night. I was terrified. I didn't even live here yet. I was staying at my boyfriend's house. I knew you were calling me. And so I I couldn't be in the same room as him. I was so nervous. I went outside and I stood on his front porch and I thought I was doing so bad because as I was talking to you, cars were driving by and like there was so much background noise and I was like, oh my God, I'm messing this up. And then we go to this restaurant. Like literally you walked in, you gave me a hug. We had our introductions and you literally said, so if you didn't already know, I'm going to offer you the job. I was like, oh, cool.
I guess I got a special feeling too. So, all right. Because what I want to do with this episode is I really want to bring the listeners, the business owners listening or hiring managers, anybody that hires talent. I want to bring them in the mind of the needle in the haystack.
Mm-hmm.
What's going to attract you to a position? What's going to make you take a job? What's going to make you apply? What's going to make you continue to excel at your job? So let's start at the beginning. You see this posting for this job. What about it makes you interested in it? Okay.
Truly, when I had literally graduated college less than a month before. And I knew I needed a job. So I was going on Indeed, LinkedIn, and basically trying to find anything I was qualified for. And I was applying. Mm-hmm. I would look at it. Is this going to make me miserable? Probably not. I could do it for a couple years. Send in the application. I don't think anyone goes into it thinking their first job is their forever job. Mm-hmm. So I wasn't in that headspace. I was like, I need a job. Yeah. I need an income. Let's get it going. And I probably applied to 50 jobs in that month after graduating college and heard back from 5.
Wow.
It's insane.
Oh my gosh. Okay. What are some of the other jobs you were applying for?
Yeah. So, all of them had something to do with marketing or business. I knew that's where I wanted to be. The thing that makes it so hard when you're searching right after you graduate college, and I'm sure everyone has heard this before, is entry-level jobs require you to have experience. How is it entry-level if you need experience to do it? You know what I mean?
Right.
And so how do you get that experience without having someone giving you that experience?
Right,
you know what I mean?
Exactly.
And so that's what was drawing me in, was I was looking for entry level where I could, what's the word? Even if I didn't fit the description or the experience they wanted, I was trying to find jobs to apply to that I could kind of use the experience I did have to convince them that I could do this job.
And it's a lot of when you're that age and you're applying for jobs that, they say entry level and then they're like 3 years minimum marketing experience required. How are you asking for that for an entry level job? But you have to almost find ways to, you worked at an ice cream shop, right? And there's marketing companies out there that would not accept that experience. It's not good enough if there's no marketing experience. I don't give a shit about experience, but it was very intelligent the way that you pulled different traits and different, things you did. You made the ice cream shop look like good experience for me, and it was enough for me.
Yeah. And I feel especially because when I was applying to those jobs and I got those 5 responses, Uptown was my number one. I didn't want to put all my eggs in one basket, but Uptown was my number one. So I was going over, I literally went on Indeed to see if the job application was still in my profile so I could go back and look at it. But it's not. But I was reading the job description and I was like, okay, how could I, without actual, at this point, marketing experience, get myself this job? And a big part of what I'm doing now is talking to people. Mm-hmm. And that was my biggest strength in every single job I've ever had, was customer service and talking to people and making people happy. I could make the most miserable Joe Schmo off the street walk away with a smile. Mm-hmm. That was my strength. And so I was like, all right, well,
let's go for it.
That's what I'm going with.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So you see these different jobs, you hear back from 5 of them, you narrow it down to your top 2. Did you interview anywhere else?
Yeah. It's actually funny because I ended up doing only 2 of the interviews. Yours, Carla's, and then one other business here in Rochester. And I had that one first, and they ended up offering me the job the same day that I had my interview with Carla. And so I told them, can I have a couple days to think about it? Because I really wanted to be with Uptown, but I was like, I don't want to turn this down and then not get the job with Uptown, and then I'm just screwed. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, can I have a couple days to think about it? And then it was that Monday, I think I had the interview I don't know. It was a couple days after. I ended up calling them back because my parents, they're both in positions where they hire and fire a lot of people. And so my mom was like, you can't keep them waiting forever.
Right.
So I ended up, per my mom's advice, she's awesome, I called them and I said, I'll take the job. They sent over a bunch of stuff. And then 2 days later was when I had my meeting with you at the restaurant and you offered me the job. And I called them the next day and was like, I'm sorry, but an offer came up that I can't refuse.
It happens. And I think it's important to know. That's why I always ask in my very loose interviews, I always ask, what other jobs are you applying for? Because I want to know who I'm up against. I ask that if I'm talking to an agent, what other companies are you talking to? You got to know who you're up against, right? And I think that everybody hiring should know, obviously you're not the only person. You might be number one on the list. You might be the backup. So you just have to be aware, I guess, of the landscape where you are, who's hiring. And I think what's hard for our clients is they're hiring for a very boring job and they're not paying a lot. And it's a very tough sell. So understanding that somebody could be doing interviews for insurance sales, they could be doing interviews for entry-level pharmaceutical sales. You're going to make triple in your first year alone, So it's very tough, and it's really important to ask directly, who am I up against? What are some of the things you like about this other company you're interviewing for? What are some of the things you don't like? And kind of, it gives you an opportunity to better sell your opportunity, right? Because that's what, as employers, we're trying to do is sell this opportunity to a potential candidate.
Yeah.
So how did our social media come into play, and how did the social media of the other companies you're applying to? So you said you applied to 50 jobs.
Yeah.
How many of those were you looking up the company online?
Not many.
Not many.
I just wanted a job. But when it got down to it, when people ended up starting to reply to me, that's when I would dig a little bit deeper and be like, okay, let's see where we're at. So I think about the company that offered me the job versus Uptown. So that company is a really big company here in Rochester.
Is that
local.
Paychex?
No.
Oh.
And so with that, I was like looking and I was like, okay, construction. They also have like a dumpster business. And I was like, everyone there that I met was so nice. I was like, I could end up being happy here, but like, this doesn't look like a lot of fun. And then I would go to like Uptowns, and it was all these gorgeous girls. And then I started stalking all of your Instagrams individually. And I was like, okay, I like this. Like it was the personality. I was like, I literally showed my mom and my grandmother. I was like, yeah, these are the people I'm interviewing with. And they were like, oh my God, Sierra, you'd fit right in.
Yeah. So that I think says a lot about how important it is, like how important your digital presence is, not just for attracting new customers, but for attracting new talent. If you can connect with a recruit before they even go into the interview, that's huge. And it sells you on the position before, you get excited about it. You look up the company, you're showing your mom, you're all into it before you even go to the interview. Yeah. So that is really, really speaks to how important your digital presence is for attracting new candidates. Me and Carla were writing down questions, and Carla wanted to ask, why are you the way that you are? In a good way. No, but what she means is, why are you so good? And I think you brought up a little bit about your parents are both in management positions and hiring. So how do you think they helped you become such a star?
Well, I feel like, so I do accredit a lot of just me and who I am to my parents, and a lot to the way I was raised. I grew up with parents who weren't going to baby me. They weren't going to make excuses for me. They were going to be the first people to call me out on my shit. Like, so it was almost like I come home from school. I didn't get, like, I got a C on a test. It wasn't, oh, go get them next time. It was, you can do better and we expect you to do better. Yeah. So I was raised with that mindset where I'm like, it's almost like I'm continuously just trying to prove myself. Even if I have proved myself, I want to do better. Yeah. And it comes from my parents and just them constantly like pushing me to do better.
They had high expectations for you, so you have high expectations for yourself. So I'm just trying to think, okay, how can you work that into, because I do think, I would say the same thing about my parents. I think me, Carla, Marisa, even, we're all from the same family. We were raised a certain way. We had really high expectations, so we have to keep those high expectations for ourselves. I wonder how you would ask in a job interview, like, tell me about your parents without it sounding like therapy.
Like, this is a odd question, but what would your ideal parenting style be?
Oh, that's good. It's such a big thing. Maybe even just like, tell me about your family, tell me about your parents, because I think also it speaks a lot of, again, I don't know if you could ask this in an interview, but what field are your parents in? What fields or industries did you grow up around? Because I think that's going to shape a lot of not only your skills, but how you are and like the standards you have for yourself.
Yeah. And like you had said, with my parents being in the roles that they've always been in, I would hear a lot from them about like the way people would act in like different interviews or just in the work setting, or employees that they already had like not doing well. And I was like, I don't want to be that person. Yeah. I don't want my boss going home talking about me.
Yeah. For sure.
Unless it's in a good way.
Right. Which we do talk about you in a good way. So, all right, you take the job. You're an Uptown girl. The first thing we do is send you in for a photo shoot.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
You got to get your matching headshot.
I didn't even get to go to work yet.
Nope. You are putting your outfit on. You're going to take your pictures. And that's me just upholding my brand, right? If I'm going to have all the pictures of our employees on our website and our social media, I'm not hiring somebody that's just a mystery person. You know what I mean? Your face is getting right up there on the website with everybody else, because in my head, that means the sooner clients can get to know you and you can become familiar to our clients. So you're in this job now, you're starting off. How was the first, let's say, 6 months for you? And what are some of the things, I guess, that motivated you to grow as fast as you did?
The first 6 months, I would say, so every month was different for me. That first month, it was a lot of, what do I do next?
Yeah.
And then I started slowly like knowing what to do next, right? So I've always been someone who wants to ask a lot of questions because I want to know everything. Mm-hmm. When I would train people at the ice cream shop, I would get so irritated if they didn't ask me questions, because when you're training someone, it's absolutely impossible to give them all of the information that they're going to need. So when you run into a situation, you need to ask a question. And if you don't care to ask a question, you're never going to learn to do anything correctly.
Right. And may I just say, you to this day have asked one of the most, it's an intelligent question, but it's a question that a lot of new employees would not ask the owner of the company. Do you remember what this is?
Was it, I asked you what makes you want to keep doing this or something like that?
No, it was when we were talking about our competitors, all the companies that we compete with. Yeah. And I'm telling you, this is why we're better, blah, 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 blah. This is why we're better than this company. This is our competitive advantage here. And I went through them all and I'm like, yep. And Sierra says to me, okay, what would they say is our disadvantage? And I was like, Sierra, we don't have any disadvantages. But it was a really intelligent question because, again, as a business owner, I think we're the perfect company, but we're not, right? Yeah. So I had to say, okay, where do we fall short amongst, the people that we're competing with for business? And it made me realize, okay, what is our disadvantage to all these other companies? But I will never forget you asking that, because I was like, our disadvantages? Yeah. What? Well, impossible.
I get these like little fake scenarios in my head all the time where I'm like, okay, what would I say if someone came at me with this? And so I was like, that's just another thing I'd like to have in my pocket, just in case like someone is saying, like a competitor is saying that, how can we combat what they're saying?
Right.
But like those first couple months, it was almost like, and I told you this because you guys, when I started and when you started giving me clients, you were giving me the easy ones, the ones that are easy to make happy. They're just always so nice and so sweet. And so when it got to the point where I was taking on maybe some harder clients, some people who are going to come at me with burning questions, it was like, all right, I need to know this stuff. So I would say what I did know on the phone, and then I would get off. I'd come in and I'd be like, what would you do in this situation? Just because I need, you need to know. You need to have things in your back pocket.
No, you're spot on. You're 100% right. And I think that I maybe just subconsciously saw how many questions you were asking in that interview, because you have to be a sponge when you're in a new job, when you're in a new company. And the only way to do that is ask every question. Like, well, okay, what would you do in this scenario? How would you want me to answer this in this scenario? So that is like such a valuable skill. And it's so important to try to identify early on when you're recruiting. Is this going to be somebody that kind of sits back and is like, all right, well, I'm too shy to ask a question, or I don't want to bother anyone. But you're like, no, tell me how this company sucks, Martina. It was perfect. It was such a good question. And you always ask good questions. Okay, so keep telling me about you're 6 months in. Yeah. You're asking a lot of questions.
Yeah, that was one thing I know. So I had a lot of imposter syndrome. Because I'm like, I understand the idea of you want the people doing your marketing to not be 10 years to the grave. You want them to be young. They know what's going on. But I feel like it's different for us because it's in insurance.
Right.
And I just graduated college. They don't teach you about insurance in college.
You probably didn't even pay your own insurance at that point.
And so I was like, who's going to take me seriously? I graduated college 2 minutes ago.
Yeah.
One woman literally thought I was Carla's daughter. I was like, oh my God. So it took a while for me to actually gain enough confidence to not be afraid to get on the phone with new people. That was one of the things I was most excited about, was to be able to talk to people, get on the phone with new people, meet new people. And so it took me a little bit to get comfortable with doing that, because I would have people like, oh, well, when did you start here? I'm like, yesterday.
Yeah.
Like, oh, cool. Where'd you go to school? Well, I just graduated like a week ago. So, and still to this day, I'll have some people make comments, but it's gotten to the point where, like, I think everyone, no one, that was me. Like, I was the only one thinking that. It wasn't like that. I do have some agents who they'll take my age into consideration, but they think of me as their daughter, you know?
And the thing you need to keep in mind, yes, we're marketing insurance, which is boring, hard to understand. If you're younger, you really have no reason to understand it at this point. So it's tough. But on the same note, you're not selling the insurance. It's even picture working for an agent and trying to sell a 60-year-old person life insurance. That's where it gets really tough. But what's nice about being young in marketing is the younger you are in marketing, the more you know, because you're on with all the trends. Like, you know more about marketing than I do, as far as like TikTok. You know, I don't even have TikTok. I can't make a TikTok. I wouldn't know how. Like, it's easy to trust the generation younger than you. And for some of our clients, 2-3 generations younger than you, because you know they know more than you.
Yeah.
So, all right, you're an imposter. What else?
Yeah. I mean, other than that, I was really focused on, I just wanted to impress everyone. That's my problem always, is I want everyone to like be impressed by me selfishly. But
I have the same problem. I get it. And it's what makes you want to keep going. And so that's a big motivator for you, is pleasing other people, not even pleasing other people, impressing other people.
And so I would constantly, every now and then, just in my head, honestly, still to this day, anytime you or Carla walks into each other's office and you close the door behind you, I'm like, oh my God, what did I do?
You guys act like Carla and I are so scary. And I always say, when have you ever heard us yell at any of you? The only time I yell is if it's like a customer service representative and I'm very frustrated. That's probably the only time you guys have heard me really yell, right?
Yes.
Well, or Carla.
Yeah. No, that was, I mean, you would never yell at any of us, but it's almost like,
are they talking about me?
Am I going to get fired next week? But like, so whenever like those first couple months, it's very hard not to get in your head and be like, am I doing good? Because no one is going to pat you on the back every day and be like, oh my God, you're doing so good, sweetie, keep it up. Like, no, you just do your job. And so it's hard to know. And that's why I was just very like, I would go home and be like, how's work? I was like, I think it was good.
That makes me sad. I wish I was giving you more reassurance. But I hope now that you can feel the reassurance, because you've gotten a promotion that I don't trust. I trust very, very, very few people to fully be a consultant and fully represent Uptown. There's Elena and Diane, who I have known since they were kids and really trained them from their beginning of their career. And you, it's very hard. So it's very impressive, especially after just a year, that you've been able to come as far as you are. What do you like the most, and what has helped you gain more confidence along the way?
You said it from day one. Diane is going to be a lifesaver for me. I have learned so much just from sitting next to her all day, which makes me feel a lot better in and of itself. Diane is like a walking encyclopedia of insurance marketing. It's insane. So she's been super extremely helpful, and she's just someone that I know. She's like my right hand now. Yeah, I absolutely adore her. So she's been really, really helpful for me. I mean,
okay. So just to give everyone a little lesson, and maybe this is normal for people, but I didn't really realize how valuable it was until I watched it all play out. Sit your newest person with your best person. You know, it just sitting next to each other, you learn so much. You hear their conversations, you watch how they do things. You can really quick to say, hey, blah, 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 whatever, versus having to come to me or Carla and getting a whole big long thing about it. So, all right.
Like like those first 2 months, I think I was just like sitting in on everyone's calls. I would get on, I would just like Elena would just like link me in on the phone call. I would sit at Diane's desk while she talked to someone, all of Carla's. And it's gotten to the point where if I don't have a call at the moment, but Diane's on a call, I'll listen. And if I hear something that confused me or like a term that I don't know, I can still just what did you mean by that? What is that? So I think she's been like a saving grace for me, really. I don't think I'd be as far along as I am without her, for sure.
Yeah, you've just like immersed the knowledge, just osmosis, whatever it's called.
Yes.
I'm not a science girl, but how do you think the culture of our office helps you or hurts you?
I don't ever have to be afraid to say something or ask a question or be afraid that I'm going to look dumb.
Because we're all dumb.
Sometimes, yes. No, it's just, we have a really nice, like, we're all friends. We all actually like each other. That was one of the things I was afraid of. I was like, it's all female company. I don't know. Girls can be catty. Yeah. I don't know. And so it's been really nice. Like, everyone there could be someone I could go to for anything. So I don't ever have to just be afraid to say something, ask a question. I'm not going to look dumb and someone will have the answer for me. So it's really nice. And I feel like if you have someone in there that like makes you uncomfortable, like even one person, it deters you from saying a lot or asking a lot because you're like,
you just feel that icky in the air. Yeah.
But we don't have any of that. So it's been a really easy learning environment.
Do you think that, let's say hypothetically, we did have somebody that was not as good of a fit or just brought a little toxic energy. Do you feel that being lifted makes a big difference?
I mean, yeah, for sure. I feel like a person's toxicity rubs off on other people. And so when someone in the office is like a toxic person, everyone starts getting a little toxic themselves. They're not as nice. They're getting kind of mean. It's getting kind of catty. Yeah. People are talking. So when you get that out of there, and that's like the main factor, it's not there anymore. Yeah. So it's not going to happen anymore. Yeah. So.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. Carla also said, why do you keep showing up?
What else am I going to do? That's why I'm always there so early. I'm an early riser and I'm around. So I'm like, what am I going to do? Sit here and twiddle my thumbs? I might as well go do something productive.
No, that's great. And I used to be the same way when I was at my old company. I never got in early. I'm not a morning person, but I would either stay late or I'd take my work home and I'd do it at home. Yeah. I remember tons of nights working till like midnight, like a mad scientist, like on my laptop. But I think it's also, correct me if I'm wrong, you enjoy what you're doing enough to show up. If you dreaded your job, you wouldn't be the first one in the office every morning, I'm assuming.
I'd be lying if I said there are some days where I'm like, I really don't want to go in. This is going to be an awful day. But most days, I do enjoy what I'm doing. I love making stuff for people, like the agents, content for them, just different custom stuff. And my agents that I have that are in my book of business, like they are pretty much all amazing. Yeah. I have actual relationships with the majority of these people. I know about their life. They know about my life. And so there are a lot of people, majority of people that I can see on my calendar, and it makes me want to go in because I actually do want to talk to these people. Yeah.
Yeah. And you're just a true people person. And I think I can't remember if I asked you anything like to try to pull that out of you, but I must have. I think I could tell in the way you just spoke on the phone. I think you have such a confidence in your voice and such like, you're just so pleasant. And you can tell even when you're on the phone, you're smiling. And that's something that people try to train on. If you're on the phone and you sound like this and hello, can I quote your insurance, blah, 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 blah. Like nobody wants to talk to that person. So you're trying to constantly train to smile and dial is like the old expression because it's going to make a difference in your voice. And you naturally do that. I could tell the first time we talked on the phone. And maybe just, I don't know, asking something to the extent of, do you enjoy talking, or what do you enjoy talking about, talking to people?
I feel like every single phone call I get on with an agent, we spend the first 10 minutes just talking about life. And which is really great. There are some agents who they take up the entire 30 minutes just talking about life, which is totally fine too. I'm like, all right, let's reconnect tomorrow. We can go over this again. We can try again. But no, so like that's what almost every single person, first 10 minutes. How are your kids? What have you been up to? Did you have a good Labor Day? What'd you do on Labor Day? Oh, I saw your daughter's birthday was last week, you know? Because I'm friends with all these people on Facebook, so I get to see what they're doing too. That made me sound kind of creepy, but
no, it's true. And it's, I think, a good thing. And again, every industry is different, but your relationships with your clients can extend into social media. And I think it's very valuable when they do extend into social media, because you can say, oh, I saw you at a birthday party for Jessica. How was it? You know, it's just another layer to building your relationship, is kind of keeping tabs on each other on social media, stalking each other, right?
Yeah, for sure. That's what I do best. But yeah, no, that's first 10 minutes. We just like kind of shoot the shit, and then we'll get into the nitty gritty, see if anything if everything's going good, if anything needs to be changed, you know, but I prefer the shooting the shit.
Yeah.
So
I completely agree. Who would you say is your favorite client?
Oh my God. There's so many.
I just had to ask you that. You don't have to actually answer it, because one person asked that on Instagram and he was looking for himself to be the response.
I feel like I know who it is.
You probably do, but we won't say. Do you have one that sticks out? You don't have to say their name.
I feel like there was one person, two people that I know, two different agents that I know when I get on the phone with, they're just going to be the happiest person I've ever met. They just want to, one of them, they just want to know how I'm doing.
Yeah.
They want to know what's new in my world.
Yeah.
And the other one, he's just the happiest man.
Yeah.
He's like this old man. And
you know what, Sierra? They probably say the same about you. They probably say, every time I talk to my marketing girl, she's just so happy. She always asks me about my family and my day. And
yeah, never has anything bad to say. Never has a complaint about anything we've got going on. Like,
just a happy guy.
It's really, they don't even care to get on the call. They just want to say hi every month.
And I think that also speaks to when you have such a star like Sierra, somebody that's just like radiates positivity and hard work all the time. That's the kind of client they're going to attract and retain, right? Because if you've got the bitchy girl that comes in late every morning and she's huffing and puffing and everything's a struggle and a drama, right?
Yeah.
You are not going to be able to retain the happy, just really pleasant, good quality clients. And that, especially in marketing, there are so many ups and downs to marketing that you really have to just hold on tight to each other sometimes. You got to hold on tight with your clients, because it's like, oh, this sucks right now. We're going to get through it or do this or whatever it is, because that's just the reality of the internet, really. So yeah, having really good quality employees is going to help attract and retain good quality clients.
Yeah.
So what would you say, and be nice, are your biggest challenges or struggles or things you don't love about your job?
I would say, and this isn't always there, and honestly, this is more on me than anything, because it's the way I set up my calendar, right? When I'm scheduling these people, sometimes I don't realize until I get to that week that I absolutely screwed myself over this week. And then next week I have 3 people to talk to. Like, why'd I do that?
Yeah.
I just don't realize it. And so I've been trying to get better about just managing my schedule better that way. Because I have obviously my clients, but there's a lot of stuff that I do other than that with like the
more
custom
reactive
content.
work. People come to you for stuff.
So like, because I'll do like photo updates. I do all the team bios for me, Diane, and Carla. So I just, when I screw myself over like that for 1 week, it completely sets me back. And then I have to then spend the next week just playing catch up.
Well, you're pretty young to be in such an independent position. Since your promotion, you're really in charge of your own calendar. You might set yourself up one appointment on a certain day so you can take off and have a hair appointment, or you might end up sometimes screwing yourself with, you've got 6-7 appointments back to back on a Monday, you know? So you're young to be in that kind of position, but it's good that you're already identifying it and saying, all right, this is what I need to do to make myself feel less overwhelmed on certain days and maybe less like, okay, what's next on other days? What do you think is helpful in terms of management style for making you stay motivated and stay showing up every day, as Carla said?
Well, you and I have actually had this conversation before, because we're kind of the same in that aspect, where I do like to have that reassurance. I like to be told, it doesn't have to be every day. I'm not that needy, but just every now and then, just, oh, good job. You know, like, I just want to know that I'm not absolutely terrible.
I hope you know that already, but no, I am to the point of wanting reassurance and good job. I will ask people for compliments. I ask my husband every single night, what do you love about me today? Did you ever do that to Ryan?
I said to Ryan one day, I was like, what's your favorite thing about me?
Yeah.
And he's like, everything. I was like, no,
we need a specific.
Give me something specific. See, I can't do that. I'm like, oh my God.
Start just right when he's about to fall asleep. He's almost asleep. Say, what's your favorite thing about me today? What do you love about me today?
What did I do that made you happy today?
Yeah. See? But it's we need it in any relationship. We need it in our personalities, maybe. I think other people are not quite as needy, but I think there is a lot of people that words of affirmation is a love language, right? And it's really valuable to just hear oh my gosh, that was a great job. You did a really good job.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of times too, because like we were talking about earlier, I ask a lot of questions. Half the time I know the answers to the questions. I just want a sounding board and I want someone to tell me, yeah, you're right.
Yeah. You already know the answer. You're just coming in to be like, so I think it's this, right?
Yeah. I do know this.
Yeah. Well, in general, we obviously could not be happier with you. I think you know that. I hope you know that. But thank you. I think this was really valuable for people. Do you have any like kind of last advice for people that are trying to recruit talent that is going to come in, show up, give 100% every day, and be of a really big value to their business, their clients, all that stuff?
I would say, like we kind of touched on this earlier, but when we were talking about what makes a business attractive to a potential employee, that's like that was the biggest thing for me is you want your business, number one, to be attractive. But I think also one thing I was honestly thinking about earlier was the fact that, I don't know how to word this correctly.
Don't hold back.
So I don't know if this is going to make sense, but I feel like a lot of times employers will expect their employees to fit a certain mold. You can't necessarily do that. Like you look at our girls and everything, and everyone is so different. No one is exactly alike. We are all of a different mold. Mm-hmm. So I feel like you can't look for all of the same. And that's what I feel like a lot of people expect is they want everything to be kind of uniform. They want everyone to have the same personality. They don't want someone to stick out too much, you know, oh, this person's a loudmouth. Like, that's just how they are. They need a job too.
Yeah, you're right. And when you're a leader, it's very hard to not want to, because we're so cocky, make 10 more of you, right? And I had to learn that pretty early on in my business is that I can't turn Elena into Martina. Actually, I did a pretty good job of getting close with her, but I can't turn Sierra into Martina. I can't turn Kara into Martina. I have to make Kara be the best Kara and Sierra be the best Sierra. And that's hard when you're a leader and you're like, okay, well, I know how to do everything. I'll just do it the right way. So I think it's hard to, I guess, be patient with employees when you're hiring, when they're there, when you're training. It's hard to be patient because you move at such a certain speed and aggression as a business owner that you need to sometimes be like, okay, this is Sierra I'm talking to. This is not me. I need to make sure I'm fitting what Sierra needs.
Like when we were having like the sales talk and everything last week, and I had said, I was like, we're all learning to sell from the same person and one style does not fit all. So like everyone's learning style is different. Everyone's personality is different and you can't turn that person into you, like you just said. So you need to find a way to mold that person, not into you, but into a better version of themselves.
Yes, exactly. See how wise she is? So mature, so wise. Well, thank you for doing this.
Yes.
You did so good, as you do everything else. I hope everybody learned a lot, and we'll definitely have Sierra back. Thank you so much for tuning in, everyone.
All right. Thank you.